The morning sun casts a golden glow over the coastline. As gentle waves roll onto the shore, their rhythmic whispers filling the air. Fishermen prepare their boats, securing nets and checking their gear, ready to set out into the vast, endless blue. Nearby, families soak in the peaceful morning, children chasing each other along the shoreline, their laughter blending with the distant cries of seagulls. A lone dog sprints across the wet sand, leaving a playful trail of paw prints before the tide gently washes them away. The scent of salt lingers in the air, carried by the soft ocean breeze. Here, time slows, and nature's harmony fills every moment with quiet beauty. The ground rumbles a low, ominous growl before the violent shaking begins. Buildings tremble, windows shatter, and deep cracks split the roads. Panic erupts as people scream, scrambling for safety, clutching onto their loved ones. Trees sway violently, their branches thrashing against the wind, while a dog barks frantically in the foreground, sensing the chaos. Inside a home, dishes crash to the floor, furniture topples, and lights flicker. The earth groans under the strain, a relentless force reminding all of its unstoppable power. And then, for a brief moment, everything stands still before the aftershocks begin. The ocean has pulled away, revealing an airy, exposed seabed stretching far into the distance. Stranded fish flop helplessly, their gills grasping for water that is no longer there. Tourists laugh, snapping photos, unaware of the danger unfolding before them. But among them, a fisherman's smile fades. His net slips from his hands as realization sets in. He turns and runs, his urgency lost in the carefree crowd. A child tugs at their parent's hand, pointing at the disappearing water, their voice barely heard over the rising wind. And then, a haunting stillness. The world holds its breath, just before the ocean comes rushing back. On the horizon, a dark wall of water rises, a monstrous wave, rushing forward with terrifying speed. The camera tightens its focus on the shore, where panic spreads like wildfire. Some stand frozen, their eyes wide with horror, unable to comprehend the force approaching. Others turn and run, their desperate footsteps kicking up sand as they flee inland. The wind howls, bending palm trees as the sky seems to darken. A mother clutches her child, her breath ragged, her face carved with fear as she dashes for safety. And then, the roar of the ocean grows deafening, a sound so immense, it drowns out the screams. The wave is here. And then, it hits. A colossal wall of water slams into the coastline, swallowing everything in its path. Buildings crumble like paper, torn apart by the unstoppable force. The camera follows as people cling desperately to trees, poles, and rooftops, fighting against the raging current. Some are swept away, lost in the churning chaos. Above, the sky looms dark, heavy with storm clouds, as cars and boats drift like helpless toys, crashing into what remains of the town. The ocean's deafening roar drowns out the desperate cries for help. Nature's fury is relentless. And in its wake, nothing will ever be the same. Drifting alone in the vast, unforgiving sea, Meghna clings to the wooden door, her fingers trembling from exhaustion. The waves rock her gently now, a cruel contrast to the chaos that brought her here. Her eyes scan the sky, desperate, searching. Then, a distant roar. A helicopter slices through the evening air, its searchlight sweeping across the water. Hope flares in her chest, but the beam passes over her, blind to her presence. She tries to lift her hand, to call out, but she is too weak. The sun sinks lower, casting the sky in breathtaking hues of orange and purple. A beautiful end to a day filled with devastation. And Meghna remains, waiting. Almas clings to a drifting log, her tiny fingers slipping as the waves toss her like a fallen leaf. Her breaths are ragged, her small body barely staying above the churning water. Not far away, her mother and aunts hold on to a coconut tree, their desperate screams lost beneath the thunderous roar of the sea. But the ocean is merciless. A monstrous wave surges forward, ripping the tree from its roots, pulling them into the abyss. The camera returns to Almas. Her wide, terrified eyes search the darkness, but her strength is fading. Her grip weakens. Slowly, her eyes flutter closed, and she surrenders to exhaustion. The screen fades to black. Only the gentle lapping of water remains, a haunting whisper of all that was lost. Deep in the jungle, elephants thunder through the trees, their movements urgent, their eyes wide with fear. They know. Elsewhere, a man struggles to coax his barking dogs outside, but they refuse, pulling back, resisting. Something is wrong. Above, the sky stirs. Hundreds of birds take flight at once, their frantic cries piercing the heavy air. Nature is sending a warning. The camera lingers on a lone farmer, watching in confusion as his animals move toward higher ground. The wind stills. The world holds its breath. And then silence. Tilly's eyes are wide with fear as she tugs at her mother's arm, her voice rising in desperation. She points at the ocean, pulling away, vanishing before her eyes. Around them, tourists lounge in the sun, unaware. Some begin to stand, confused, sensing something isn't right. A close-up captures her mother, holding Tilly's younger sister, torn between her daughter's panic and the eerie sight before her. Then a sound. Deep, low, and unrelenting. The earth itself seems to groan. The camera shifts far out at sea, a massive wave begins to rise. Finally, screams. People run. The beach is abandoned in an instant, silent, empty. And then, the wave comes crashing down. The camera moves slowly across the wreckage, a landscape of loss. Homes, once filled with life, now lie in ruins. Trees, torn from their roots, drift in murky floodwaters. The echoes of destruction linger in the air. A mother clutches a soaked photograph, her body trembling with silent sobs, holding on to memories of what was. Nearby, rescue workers sift through debris, pulling a survivor to safety, their hands steady, their faces weary. Volunteers move through the wreckage, offering food, blankets, small gestures of warmth in the cold aftermath. The final shot lingers on a young child, standing motionless amid the ruins. Their wide eyes say everything. In the wake of the storm, only resilience remains.